I'm asking you a 2-minute question. There's a Jewish diaspora. They're running all over the world. It culminates in the Bolshevik Revolution, Zionism. It starts Theodor Herzl. It ends in the final solution in Germany. The Jewish people said, listen, we just need a state. You look at the map of the Middle East. It's as big as this room. We have a little tiny microphone. And then we're fighting over the size of this microphone when you have the entire room right here. So tell me, what should Israel do now? Does Israel have a right to exist and defend itself, or no?
So can I answer? I'd answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, certain things that you said in that monologue was a little bit inaccurate. Yes, they were treated badly in Europe. They were treated badly everywhere else. They were not treated badly in Spain because that was under the Arab rules.
Of course they were. What do you mean? It was called the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes,
Look it up. Yes.
Sir. The Spanish Inquisitions was done by the Christians against Muslims and Jews together.
Okay.
Muslims and Jews were sitting
But
together.
it happened, is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, before the Spanish Inquisition, Jews lived in the courts as ministers and as poets, as scientists under the Arab rule in Andalusia. When the Spanish Inquisition came in, they killed both Jews and both Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the Crusades, we all know how that story goes between Christians and Muslims for decades and centuries.
And you understand that the first crusade did not kill a single Muslim?
Okay, but the third and the fourth and the fifth one did.
What happened with the first crusade?
Enlighten me.
The first crusade came out from England and they killed 2,000 Jews in Europe. They didn't even make it to Jerusalem. This is how bad the Jews were treated by the Christian Europeans. And as a matter of fact, Jews did not find refuge unless they found it in the Arab countries. I'm not saying that they were perfect, but if you compared what the Jews were enduring in Ukraine and Russia and in Western Europe and how they lived in Baghdad and Egypt and Morocco, they were much better.
But this validates the whole point of why the Jews need Israel, because every country they go to, they're going to be run out of town or killed. At the very least, they have their own country, so they could say, at least we have safety here. Every country, every story that you just mentioned, Basef, is them being killed by somebody, whether it's the Christians, whether it's the Brits, whether it's the Ukrainians, whether it's the Russians. The whole point of Israel is like, we can no longer just rely on other people's niceties and empathy to not be murdered. Okay. So now we need a state of our own. You understand that?
I understand. Let me continue.
Yes or no?
So all through these years, they were living peacefully, relatively under the Arab rule. And then what happened, the pogroms in Russia and Ukraine pushed them to England. And then England said, we cannot take them anymore, push them more to the Arabs. At the time, Jewish people in the Arab world, especially Egypt, were living. The first people who actually did the cinema and the theater were Jewish Egyptian people who lived there all their lives. Jews, Christians, and Muslims were living. Right now, the department store, like our version of Macy's and Target, they all have Jewish names because they have part of the fabric of the Egyptian society for decades, way before the Jews from Europe came. Now, when the Jews from Europe came, there's two ways to come. You can come easily or you can come by force. They started to come with all of these ships, and then you have the Haganah, and you have all of the Zionist gangs who started to come into Palestine, and they were like 1.5 million Palestinians that you cannot erase. So the fact that this is the Arab world, you can go anywhere. No, because this is their country. So they went in, they replaced them, and then we had the 1948, and the rest is history. Now, having said that, do I want Israel to be erased and I want people to go back to Europe? I will never use that kind of argument unless that you tell me, well, why don't the Palestinians go to Arab countries? If you don't use that, I'm not going to use that. I believe that Israel is a matter of fact. And I think it's too late to come and erase or get people out, whatever. What we have to do, either a one-state solution that everybody, Palestinian and Israeli, have exactly the same equal right, and all of them have the same passport, and they live in peace. And the other reason is a two-state solution. Obviously, so far, Netanyahu and other Israeli officials have said many times there will never be a Palestinian state. Not in the West Bank, not in Gaza, ever. And these are official statements by them. So they have already said that. Sometimes people accuse Arabs, but we do not want the state of Israel. They say we don't want a state for Palestine. So you have this. As long as you think that this is your land only, and those Palestinians are indispensable and they can go other places, you will never have peace.
They've had the Oslo Accords. They've had the Abraham Accords. At what point does Israel say, I can't negotiate with these people? Hamas's founding charter says we call for the destruction of Israel. In order to make peace or to make a deal, you need to have someone on the other side that is willing to at least come to the table. The closest that come was Yasser Arafat, the PLO, under Clinton, 1998. He came back. They gave him 98% of what he wanted. He came back. They said no. Would Israel, or listen, Israel's just like America. It's a democracy. In a democracy, you have a free exchange of ideas. The Marjorie Taylor Greens that you mentioned are wildly different from the AOCs. But policy is different from rhetoric. The policy of the PLO, of Hamas, of Fatah is essentially destroy Israel. There's no two-state solution.
No.
The rhetoric.
Hamas is different from Fatah. Fatah is different from the authority because there's nothing in the charter of Fatah or the.
The point that I'm getting at is all these political factions. No one wants to come to the table, do a deal. And here's what's happening.
Neither does the Israel.
Because they're getting worse and worse. They gave them 98% of what they want.
Sir, have you seen?
They had a good hand a few decades ago.
Sir,
now they have no hand. You have no leverage now. That's the problem.
Sir, have you seen the video by Netanyahu who's bragging about spoiling the Oslo Accord on his own?
I've seen the video.
Yeah, he said like I'm going to destroy it. We're going to hit them. Nobody's going to do that anymore. This is the guy. And by the way, just a little bit of thing. The Oslo Accord, it was signed by Yasser Arafat from one side and from Isaac Rabin from the other side. What happened to Isaac Rabin?
He got assassinated by a Jew.
Whom?
By a Jew.
Okay.
And by a far right radical Jew. Because he was a moderate.
Who was a part of what part? That's Jew. What kind of organization was he part of?
He was on the far right party where
it is the same organization where Ben Gvir, the head of the national security now, is a minister under Netanyahu.
Yeah, newsflash. Every country that's a democracy has a left wing and a right wing.
But I don't think every country has at least two terrorist people as ministers, because Ben Gvir was arrested on the account of killing Ishaq Rabin. As a matter of fact, there's a very famous video for him where he got the emblem of his car 2 months before Isaac Rabin's like, we've got your car, next we got you, 2 months later, Isaac Rabin. This is the kind of government that you are defending. It is a terrorist government that kills its own people. Even Beit Zalim, who is the Minister of Finance, he was arrested because he was going there by 600 liters of gasoline to blow up an Israeli highway. This is the kind of criminals who kill people, Gaza everywhere, and I find it very difficult to find somebody actually to defend their actions.
Are you saying that Israel is the only country in the Middle East that has a thug-like regime?
Oh, no, not at all. But
okay, so this is pretty common for that neighborhood.
But you know what's the difference? I don't see any other country in the regime saying I'm a democratic secular country and I have Western values.
Well, according to the World Economic Index, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. This isn't our opinion.
Exactly.
Look
it's the only democracy which would have terrorist people in the government, which I find it very interesting.
Here's the problem that I'm having with you. Is that I actually
problem with me?
No, with your argument.
With me?
Well, you've already called me racist.
I'm a very nice person.
I think you are a nice person.
I'm very nice.
I think you're nice.
I never called you racist. I called your argument racist
multiple times, but it's all good.
He said undertone. He didn't call.
I said it's a racist undertone. Thank you so much. It's a racist undertone.
Thank you,
Bassem. If you look at the chat, you've probably been the nicest to me today, so we're cool. So the problem that I have with you is that either you're anti-Israel or you're just intellectually lazy. Hear me out. Every problem.
That's a very nice insult.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
He's
insulting me very softly.
I am. Because I believe in having discussion and being forthright rather than when you leave, I'll be like, fuck that guy. I actually think you're a smart guy. I actually think you know your stuff. You're just so fixated that Israel's the problem. The problem in the Middle East, like I said, follow the money. The countries that are succeeding, the Qataris, even the Saudis these days, they're coming into the modern world. They're leaving the 6th century mentality